these mean? Are there fines? For the first few months, law enforcement will only issue warnings. Starting January 1st, 2026, they can issue citations with $100 fines. And Dinkle said the initial grace period is to help change driver habits and educate the public about the new law. So I'll say this. When I was driving home today, back from work, after this morning I had this situation, I did not look at my phone. I put a podcast on, I set my phone down, and I drove. I was not educated. I did not learn something new. I've been taught for a decade plus the dangers of texting and driving. This was not education. This was fear. Fear that I would get another get another warning. And, they didn't say this in this article, but I'm sure if every day you drive with your phone, every day you get pulled over, they that's gonna count for something, right? And it's funny, even the officer that was he's like, yeah, it's the first day that we're enacting it. It's a big day. It's a big day today. Oh yeah, buddy, I'm sure it's a big day for you. I'm sure your sergeant, your chief said, hey, go scare as many Iowans as possible to fucking tell them that, oh, hey, if you don't do this, we're going to steal money from you. Make sure you do that. It's like the fucking when they have quotas. I mean, they're going to have quotas for this too. I guarantee they're going to have quotas for the phone thing. They're going to be like, oh, hey, you only pull over 3 people. Nope. You only pull over 3 people that were on their phones. Nope. You're not meeting the quota. The same slippery slope of that whole catastrophe is going to apply to this. I guarantee you. But let's keep reading. Too many people are comfortable the minute they get behind the wheel. That's the time to be scrolling. That's their time to be scrolling their devices, checking social media, responding to emails, he said. We need to get back and change that driver behavior to make sure that people are not tempted to grab these devices. Now, I think that's just like a gross oversimplification. I don't know. Maybe I'm older. Maybe I am wiser. But I highly doubt that the minute people get behind the wheel, now I finally get to look at my social media. Now, this email. Now I get to respond to the email. What? I've had time all day to respond to the email. But when I'm driving, now I'm going to, no, man. I feel like most of the time, and again, this is my experience, I could be full of shit, but when people are using their phone on the road, they're trying to find where they're going, they're communicating with somebody in a way that is required so that they can find where to go, or they're doing something like I was doing where you're just trying to find a song. Oh, hey, I'm gonna look at the phone. There's a method to continuously look up. I'm just saying, okay? This is bullshit. Sorry, I'm just kind of skimming over this because there was one piece at the end that I thought was really important. Okay. Which kind of goes into what I've been talking or wanted to get into. According to data from the Iowa Department of Transportation, there were more than 900 crashes last year caused by drivers distracted by their phones or another electronic device. Currently, 31 states ban handheld cell phone use while driving. Okay. So there are 900 crashes. So I actually pulled this. Before I started, I actually pulled this up. I took all of the data from 2024 of all the accident data. And it said this. So there were 53,325 crashes in the state. So I guess if we do the math quick, that's if this figure is true that 900 crashes were caused by drivers distracted, that's like less than 2% of the crashes were caused by this, which definitely isn't good. But like, like what you're gonna go through all these steps, all these loopholes, all these restrictions for 2% of crashes. Now let's look at the data that I pulled up, that I found. Okay, actually let's pull up this other article here. So for non-fatal accidents, according to, and this is something I find really interesting too. Like I could not find a government website that would give this information. I could only find it from law sources, like law websites. Maybe I'm just a shitty researcher, but that's all I could find. So this is from Walker, Billingsley, and Bayer. These are, I don't know if this is this is in Iowa. Okay. 5 most common causes of car wrecks in Iowa. These are non-fatal from what I understand. Distracted driving, fatigue driving, drunk driving, speeding, and aggressive driving. Which is interesting because, I found like varying things. Like I went to multiple different sites and like what actually was like the top was like, it seems like the data just isn't like 100% accurate or isn't 100% there. So like, this just seems like, and I didn't actually watch the video, but I know Kim Reynolds kind of put this into law. So, she's by no means a mathematician, right? She just kind of, it's like, it's the logic of like taking kids' phones away in class, right? Oh, these phones are so dangerous. We need to take away the phones. But anyways, so fine. Let's say they're the top. It's the top cause for accidents. Even though if you compare the figure of that we saw in the IPR or the IPR article, where it says there were 900 crashes from it last year of 53,000 crashes, that doesn't really sound like 50%. But whatever, we'll just take that at their word, right? So let's do this. So, total occupants, total number of people affected by accidents last year was 120,358. And out of that, there were 356 fatalities. So 356 people died. Now, if you divide those numbers, if you do the math and divide those numbers by the total population of Iowa, which is 2,245,000 or 2 point, I guess, no, not 2. I can't read my writing. 3.241 million. That comes out to that comes out to 3.7% of the population being affected in total by accidents. And even less than that. So if that's 900, that's like 0.3% or less than 0.1%. So the accidents affect the population total of 3.7%. And the fatalities affect 0.01% of the population. Look, this is a money game. Here's the thing. If the state of Iowa, if the Department of Transportation, if the Des Moines Pig Department actually wanted to do things that would make an impact on the safety of driving, you know what the first thing I would do? Park outside bars. Affects way less people, affects way less of the population. You are targeting members of the population that are going to be using alcohol, more likely to use alcohol while driving. And then having just like an enforcement of like, and I don't by any means support this as the anarchist, but I'm just saying, like, if you're going to like look at this and just think like, okay, what's the best way to, for everybody, make the roads safer. If you're thinking that worldview, that is what you would do. Put cops outside of liquor stores, put cops outside of bars. Every time a person comes to the bar, you give them a breathalyzer. Or you don't even give them the breathalyzer, because sure, that costs money too. Just observe people. If somebody looks shit-faced, say, hey, you're not driving tonight. Even give them you even want to give them a ticket, you even want to do that shitty thing, make yourself a little money, go for it. Fine. That is going to help. And let's look at this other article quick. So the main causes of fatality crashes in Iowa. 2/3 of fatal crashes were the cause of aggressive driving. So not even drunk driving, just aggression. Look, you're telling me that, because I've driven aggressively, I will admit. You're telling me that someone that's aggressively driving is like, oh, hey, Twitter, look, I'm recklessly driving. I'm aggressively driving, Twitter. No, they're not on their fucking phone. They're fucking keyed in at some motherfucker who's pissed them off. The phone has nothing to do with that. Second is drunk driving, which makes up for 30% of fatal crashes. Third on the list is distracted driving, or what we would call, really that's vague, but let's just say that is cell phone use. I know eating kind of goes into that too. It's an unknown percent, conveniently, and it makes up at least 10% is what they say. So you're going to look at what makes up 10% of fatal crashes. Aggressive driving, sure, you can't really police that. Drunk driving, which makes up 3 times more the amount than distracted driving of fatal deaths, of fatal car accidents in Iowa. Like I said, like that plan I laid out, that is something that the police could actually do. Not something I, as an anarchist, agree with, but that is something that they could actually do to minimize drunk driving and to actually make the roads safer. But how much money do they make out of that? Not a lot. Not a lot. It's even like when you're pulling people over with the undercover cars. You know what? A really good way to get somebody off their phone? Seeing a police car, seeing a police vehicle. That will tell them real quick, oh, hey, I better not have my phone out because there's a fucking cop behind me. And again, if your quote unquote job as a police officer, as a servant to the public, is to protect people, quote unquote protect people, that would be a way better, way more sensible option than slimily getting into an undercover car and catching people. Ha! Gotcha! Gotcha! That is dishonest. It's a scam. It's them trying to catch you in the act. It's not about helping people. And you can think, oh, well, they're catching people in the act to help people. No, they're catching people in the act so they can make fucking money. Yes, I understand that we have warnings in effect until June 1st. Even though I'm sure funds have been diverted. I'm sure there's some kind of bonus incentive for cops, or like I said, we have quotas to meet. Like all these things are based on some kind of funding, right? But look, when this isn't going to change when the 1st of February hits. We're going to keep seeing this kind of stuff. We're going to keep seeing all the corruption that goes into the quotas and just the conduct of the police department. Here's yet another mode that they can take people's rights away by the cell phone. And in this day and age, not even arguably, like 100% the most personable thing that is on a person, that it is attributed to a person, right? At what point, here, let me ask you this. At what point do they start taking those away from people? They do it in school. They do it in classrooms. At what point does, a couple years, couple decades down the line, we start saying, maybe if you, violate this too many times, we'll take away your phone. Very expensive piece of technology too. But I mean, like, look, for my job, I literally could not work if I didn't have my phone. And I'm not alone in that. I would say for a majority of the population, that's the case. But we're trying to keep you safe. We're trying to keep you safe. This is what is so destructive about the state, is they always use the guise of we're trying to protect, we're trying to protect, we're trying to protect. When really what they're doing is we're trying to get money, we're trying to get money, we're trying to get money. This is a scam. This is not to save people. This is not to protect people. This is simply a money scheme, period.